A high-rise fire in Toronto has been burning for almost 2 weeks, and it's still not out. Hundreds of people are displaced. Firefighters have been tied up around the clock, and honestly, I'm starting to wonder, are they still using maple syrup or did they finally switch to water? You found Stashed. I'm Pat, firefighter and mechanical engineer. To be fair, I live north of Canada. We love our Timbits here too. This incident is a weird one, something you'd never expect. On November 27, 2025, a fire started between two high-rise buildings. These are two completely independent structures. One is 12 stories, the other is 20. They don't technically share a wall, but the way they were built, there was a 1 to 2 inch gap between the two buildings. That gap was so tight that they filled it with a material to act as a buffer, something that allows the buildings to flex and move throughout the year. They used a fiberboard, the same type of material you see the fire chief here holding in this video. Now there's some people out there thinking that the Toronto Fire Department somehow forgot how to do their job, but that's nowhere near the case here. This is an extremely stubborn fire, and the fire department has almost no access to actually reach it. With such limited ventilation, the fire's just sitting in there, smoldering. And you'd think they could just scan the walls with a thermal camera, but it's not actually hot enough to overcome the thermal mass of those big concrete walls, especially in winter. This is an absolute worst case scenario, a tiny little gap between two buildings packed with fiberboard, and that narrow space has really turned it into a vertical chimney. The incident has displaced a huge number of people. Right now, roughly 400 residents are out of their homes. The entire two towers were evacuated, hundreds of units emptied out, because nobody can actually see where that fire is without tearing the building apart. Resource-wise, this is a monster. From my contacts over there, I've been talking to them. They've had about 8 fire trucks tied up on scene daily, with right around 30 to 50 firefighters on scene. Every day, for about 2 weeks now. This isn't like a room and contents where you go in, hit it, and you're done. This is a staffing drain. One of the technical headaches is the buildings aren't even the same height, so as that fire is burning through the void space, it's really not that predictable. Hot spots show up on different floors depending on what building you're looking at. 5th floor on one structure, 7th or 8th on the other, so crews can't just get ahead of it. They're literally chasing a fire that's hiding in a space that nobody can access. And the fiberboard, that is the worst material that they could have put in there. It just smolders and it can move, again, somewhat unpredictably. In a residential structure, we'll see that type of behavior in the old cellulose insulation, typically in the attics from time to time. An ember will get in there, it'll smolder for days, and it'll create this tiny little wormhole. And it'll go all the way to the opposite end of the structure. This type of fire also dodges all the normal building protections. Sprinkler systems, they don't activate because the fire isn't in a sprinkler space, and it's not even hot enough to activate a sprinkler system. Smoke alarms don't detect it because it's in that void space again. Now, the official cause hasn't been released yet, but rumors are tying this back to a contractor working in the area. And I've seen that in my first due, a contractor sweating pipes or a roofer heating a section of rubber roof, and hours after they leave, you end up with some type of fire. So for now, Toronto Fire is left doing a slow, methodical surgery on this building, popping holes in walls, doing air monitoring, trying different tactics to knock this fire out. And the unfortunate reality is that the residents, if they ever do make it back in, they're likely to have a big mess on their hands. This incident really got me thinking about the Seattle Fire Department over in Washington, US. That's because they have a really interesting energy response unit. This truck carries 11,000 pounds of carbon dioxide. It's got a tank of carbon dioxide on board with 600 feet of hose. The liquid carbon dioxide, CO2, is used to fight vault and substation fires. CO2 could be a really interesting way to solve this problem if they're able to get it in bulk. I would think they could inject it into the walls, into that void space. It would be very similar to how they add spray foam insulation to homes during renovations. Ultimately, when the dust settles, there's going to be a lot of questions. How did the fire start? Why was that void space filled up the way it was? And how do we keep something like this from happening in the future? I would be willing to bet this incident will drive some new codes and standards, but unfortunately, it will take years before they're truly adopted.